From the book Rays of the One Light by Swami Kriyananda, The Mystery of Avatar or Divine Incarnation. Truth is one and eternal. Realize oneness with it in your deathless self within. The following commentary is based on the teachings of Paramahansa Yogananda. The Bhagavad Gita, as we saw last week, in the 4th chapter states, O Bharata, whenever virtue declines and vice predominates, I incarnate on earth. Taking visible form, I come to destroy evil and re-establish virtue. What is the mystery of this divine manifestation? Great avatars, such as Krishna and Jesus Christ, are born as babies, even as well as we all are. They take human form and go through normal human experiences as they grow from childhood to adulthood. They eat, they play, they may seem to suffer sickness and disappointment like the rest of us. In what way are they different from other human beings? The important thing to understand is that even as they are like us, so are we also like them. Their realization can be ours too. They come on earth to show us our own divine potential. The difference lies not in the manner of their manifestation on earth, but in the consciousness with which they are born. All things are condensations, so to speak, of the cosmic vibration Om, described by St. John's Gospel as the Word. Most human beings, however, are unconscious of their divine origin. The avatars, on the other hand, come consciously as manifestations of that divine reality. As the Gospel says in the 1st chapter, and the Word was made flesh and dwelt among us, and we beheld his glory, the glory as of the only begotten of the Father, full of grace and truth. Thus, through Holy Scripture, God has spoken to mankind. In all the spiritual traditions, the light becomes the symbol of the divine. And it's also the symbols of the quality of the divine. In fact, for example, the sunlight, we can have the perception that it's maybe something external or not tangible. We cannot hold it in our hands, but we're fascinated about it, even if it seems in a way it can become the symbol of the divine, because the divine line is transcendent and it goes beyond the human consciousness. We are attracted by it, and we do know that we're part of that consciousness. But as long as we are in the ego consciousness, we are aware. We're still aware of our nature, divine nature, but necessarily we don't feel united. We feel separated from it. So we can see how Yogananda defines this light. 1,000 million of sun do not describe the light of my Father. It's not a bright, artificial light, but it's a very sweet light which is spread all around the world. In that light and that sparkling of that light, you would admire the entire universe as you were looking at it in a mirror. Very fascinating. And going back to the example of the sunlight, the sun rays, as I was saying before, but there's also the other aspect that the sun rays permeate the entire creation. Absolutely all of it is bathed by the sunlight, and all creatures get warmed up by that light. And that light brings joy to the entire creation. So the light is also the symbol of the fact that he is close to us, close to his creatures, and in us. And Yogananda defines this light as bliss that permeates completely our heart, all the way to the most intimate aspects in our hearts. It's a very subtle bliss. This is God. So, and we are all rays of the one light. So, every son of God, as long as he's still not aware of his divine nature, he has the goal of becoming aware of that light. When the wave goes back to become ocean, it is ocean. It's not a wave anymore. It becomes the ocean. It always belonged to it, but and without the waves, the ocean could not exist. But the shape is not definite. It's now ocean. So in the same way, as when we merge back to God, we become part of Him. So there's no separatedness, and the wave goes back to become an ocean of bliss. All human beings are meant to do this experience, and the avatars are those creatures, divine creatures, human beings like us who had many experiences, incarnations after incarnations, until they realized God in this light where they merged with Him completely. Therefore, the avatar is a divine incarnation, and he becomes light. The evangelist John defined Jesus, the infinite light of God, and this definition is applicable to all the masters and all the human beings who become one with God. And John writes, the Word became flesh, and He came and lived amongst us. The true light was coming into the world, that light that shines on every man. He was the life, and the life was the light of all men. These are glorious words. This experience that is expecting us, incredible. In the Bhagavad Gita, instead, every time that the virtue declines and vice predominates, I incarnate on earth, take invisible form, and I come to destroy evil and reestablish virtue. The I, which is not the I, man, Krishna was referring to the divine aspect, the Christ consciousness. The Christ consciousness, or the one Son of God. So this is what happens when the virtue needs to be re-established. God reincarnates with these divine beings and is realized being one with God. And the Father sometimes asks them to reincarnate again on earth and take the human form to help humanity to evolve, to realize the kingdom of heavens. So I would like to tell you a story about a very advanced disciple of Yogananda. He was a very rich man, American, and he used to say that when he met Yogananda, his life at that time it was completely destroyed. Nothing was really satisfying him anymore. Nothing made him enthusiastic. He had lost completely the sense of what gives happiness. He was a very nervous person at that point. But when he met Yogananda, one day, he meditated for 6 hours and he remained still for that time. And at some point, it seemed like that man wasn't there any longer. And at some point, he was very amazed because he knew he was so restless the whole time, and he was amazed the fact that he was so still. He was able to be so still. Couldn't believe it. And then suddenly there was a beautiful bright white light in the room, and he said, I became that light. And when I met Yogananda, I found what the most precious existing thing. I found a way to enter that spiritual kingdom that I didn't know existed. And it was Yogananda to show me the way, and give me the possibility to take that road to get there. And the thing that I'm most grateful for are the blessings that the Master showered to me. This is a beautiful story. We can identify ourselves with this. Because the Guru really comes to help us to move from darkness to the light. I would like to read to you a sentence of a song from the oratory. Christ lives. The light of divine God's light descends, and so that everybody can be lifted, and their hearts can be filled with His love and His infinite joy. And that's why Jesus said, "I am the light of the world. Those who follow me will not walk into the darkness, but it will have the light of the eternal life, the true life." That man, Gentin was his name. He had realized God. He had reached the highest level from the spiritual level, and he still kept doing his regular life. But this is a true story, and it's the story of every disciple who follows the Guru, because the Guru is the light of the world. And when you embrace him, you don't walk into the darkness anymore. You don't fall here on the right and on the left. Yogananda very often, Yogananda would repeat this sentence by John. To those who have welcomed him, he gave him to become the Son of God, children of God. And to those who have welcomed him means those who have found attunement, and the words of the Guru are alive. These words are powerful. Yogananda's words are very powerful, and just after a short sentence, something great can happen. It's like they lit a flame within. In the autobiography, For instance, when Swami went there for the first time, he wasn't understanding this. He said that these are my vibrations, that Guru said. And being in attunement with his teachings and wanting to put them into practice. It's us who create. When we create this attunement, it transfers onto us his vibrations. The Guru is an incarnation of God, and it's God himself who come onto the earth. And those are his words, his gestures. They are an example of what we are meant to do, because we need a reference point. It's beautiful when Jesus in the desert, he won the temptation. What kind of temptations can a master have? When you're a master, you're in the complete bliss. But he was meant to show us how to behave. And I understood this through a chant of the oratory, Christ lives, and it's referring to this particular moment of the temptations of Jesus. You don't know that instead our Father offers love, and you don't know that this is my only food. And it's all resolved. Everything that a master does is an example. Even Yogananda, looking for his guru, and he wanted to obtain samadhi, and he wanted to merge into this blissful light, and he was looking for a guru, therefore. Because that's what we are meant to do ourselves. If we want to find God, we need to find a guru, because the guru comes from God. Jesus said, it's not that you have chosen me, it's me, I have chosen you. We need to know the Guru and recognize the Guru. And when we recognize the Guru, we say, yes, now I want to follow you. And the Guru says, do you want to follow me? And if you do say yes, that's the beginning of discipleship, and it's the beginning of our transformation. So Jesus said, I am the light of the world. Those who follow me will not walk in the darkness, but they will have the light of the life. Yogananda said, my body is nothing, because God consciousness doesn't need a body to express itself. We need a body because we need some reference points, and so that we can get inspired, and we want to have our hearts touched. My body is nothing. For those who will be in attunement with me, I will come down. I will come from heaven to help you realize the love of my Father in heaven. Another duty of the Guru is to help us understand that we are all rays of the same light. We are all children of God, children of the only one Father. And all the religions and all the paths that lead to God are fine. It's wrong. The question, which one is your God? God is one. It's not important how we call him, how we define him. It is important only to follow the path that God has given us, because it's through that path that we realize God. Because of all the previous incarnations and everything that happened before, God knows, because of his infinite wisdom, he knows. And only through that path, you will, golden thread, you will reach it. But now, it's not the moment anymore. We need to go beyond. And the Guru knows what are the experiences that we need to grow at work, relations, and they are only relevant except for our experience of God. It's not important what we have done, but what we become through those experiences, because what we do in this world of a dream is irrelevant. It doesn't have by itself any value, any worth. And therefore, here comes back the thought to do God's will and the Guru's will, because he knows how to do it. But the other important aspect is this, that he wants to help us to understand that we are like him. We are the children of the only one Father. Except that we still need to realize it, that we're children of God. We are that already, but we need to realize it. Therefore, he helps us to see our potential, divine potential, that it's already there. Very often, Yogananda would use the image of a diamond. This is a fascinating image, because a diamond, for as much as it's covered by darkness, and beyond that is the diamond. So the expert knows how to remove the dark part. In our human consciousness, when we see only the dark part, because we're not that dark part, we are the diamond. And it's a ray that must shine. It's a special ray of God. And Yogananda, in fact, defined us as the individual spiritualized consciousness, and every ray is different. Considering that all the human beings are different, the eyes and nose and mouths, there's an amazing diversity, and the same applies to the soul. And even the masters, the human beings, have the idea of what a saint should be like, but God, it doesn't have any preconcept. Nayaswami, his weight was a huge weight, tons. It's, some examples that coming from India. He was always naked, and he was put to prison, and he would just walk around, and then he would escape from prison. Then he would go in the waters of the Ganges river, and he would meditate there. It was his way of expressing God. Jesus was born in a manger, and in fact, everybody was expecting a king being born, and so being born, but in these conditions, for God, this is not important. So there is a sentence, a beautiful sentence of Jesus, who said, "I'm the light of the world." But to his disciples, he said, "You also are the light of the world. Make sure to shine your light in the world, so that you can recall the memory of the Father. Make sure that your light shines before the eyes of men. Make sure that God's light shines through you, through your good deeds, so that people can glorify God and admire how God is more than anybody else, and how God is wise, and how God can help us." And God manifests in all the children that are in attunement with Him. So make sure to shine your light in front of every man, so to inspire the glorification of God, and maybe they will be inspired also to look for God, just as we are inspired by Jesus and Yogananda. So like a star from the sky, that such as Yogananda, Kriyananda has been, Yogananda has been, and wherever he was, something beautiful happened. Gestures of wisdom, gestures of goodness and humility. Amazing things happened wherever he was. Somebody said, "Oh, this is about Swami." She's talking now. And wherever Swami would arrive for a satsang, for a Sunday service, he would come, and we were all there around the car where he was coming, and he would greet us. And one time a person told me that when Swami walked by, he emanated like a light, a flow of light, and she would see that everybody was like showered by this light. And during his talks, we were just enjoying and laughing for the things that he was sharing with us. But if you listen carefully, his discourses, you can see bliss and feel a bliss in his voice, and that it makes you happy just to listen to him. It's like the words, "There's joy in the heavens," the words that we heard before, because God is there and permeates every aspect of the creation, everything. Therefore, so let's welcome the suggestion of Jesus: be the salt of the earth, be the light of the world. Om.